So it is finally coming to fruition. These governments around the world are going to start increasing taxation. The first stop, we saw the G7 nations in the UK, and they came to a deal to have a minimum tax rate against the multinational companies, more importantly, focusing on the big tech. We'll be discussing what the implications are for this, not only for the countries, but for these big tech companies that will now potentially see higher taxes. But if this is your first time here, my name's Nick. Welcome to Ways of Wealth. Before we get into the video, huge favor, if you learn something new or you get some value out of the video, hit that like button for me. I definitely appreciate that. And please consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on. The G7, 7 of the biggest countries, the free world, met in the UK. And this is a deal, kind of something that we've been talking about for the past couple months, how these governments have stacked on so much debt that it's coming up with ways to pay it back. I know Biden's tax plan, a video that we covered before, I'll link it above, talked about increasing the corporate tax rate and also conversations about increasing taxes for those that make over $400,000. We also saw on the Canadian side, the budget plan for 2021, also did a video on that. If you're interested, I will link that above as well. And they talked about taxes on luxury items. Now, a little bit, pull that back in a little bit. Trudeau is looking to go into another election. So I don't think that he's going to heavy on the taxes yet, but I definitely think that it is something that is going to be after, he potentially gets re-elected. So we're starting to see the conversations pile up, but this meeting was the forefront, the first opportunity for these countries to kind of take advantage of the big tech companies that everybody has been saying has been taking advantage of the system, not paying any tax. There's kind of a two-sided debate here. There's the one side that says if we tax them, they're only going to put money towards, robotics, automation, which will cause the elimination of jobs. And then the other one says, well, they're going to do that anyway, so we might as well tax them while they're making all this money, because eventually they're just going to do that anyway. So let's claim everything we get right now. So me personally, I like perfect competition. I like limited government intervention. I like the government or the market, the economy to kind of rule itself. But let's take a little deep dive further and look at this Reuters article that I found that says tech giants and tax havens targeted by historic G7 deal. So you had the G7 nations, which we'll go through all of them just to make sure that we don't miss them. Make a deal on Saturday this past weekend to squeeze more money out of multinational companies such as Amazon and Google and reduce their incentive to shift profits to low tax offshore havens. So what's the premise? What's the goal here? Well, it's to get billions of dollars from taxes that have kind of not been paid, we'll talk about Ireland in a bit. But they're looking to get back billions of dollars to help them pay for all the quantitative easing that has happened in the past couple months. Facebook said it would have expected to pay more in tax in more countries as a result, which comes after 8 years of talks that gained fresh impetus in recent months after U.S. President Joe Biden's new administration reached a historic deal to reform the global tax system to make it fit for the global digital age. So that's important to note. I think in the conference, they brought up this new global digital age, bringing the tax system into the new generation. We have Janet Yellen, who's the U.S. Treasury Secretary, say significant, unprecedented commitment. What she called a race to the bottom on global taxation. So that's definitely huge news there when it comes to just having everybody on board on the same page, kind of taking away some of these companies' opportunities to go to different countries and use them as tax havens. So that's definitely very important. I know current global tax rules date back to the 1920s and struggle with multinational tech giants that sell services remotely and attribute much of their profits to intellectual property held in low tax jurisdictions. So that is super interesting. I think updating the times. I mean, if we are going to have government tax, let's keep it updated, up to speed. But this is where it really becomes interesting. I think what I see and you know what, even though I believe in perfect competition, I do believe that these companies do get away with not paying as much. I think Amazon's been touted to pay like zero or close to zero in taxes, which is definitely not fair. As I mean, as much as I believe in limited government intervention, I do think that there is some price to pay. And that's where the comments from Facebook's vice president of global affairs actually says, we want the international tax reform process to succeed, and recognize this could mean Facebook paying more tax. So they're on board with actually having something in place and something uniform, and having all of these countries in line is definitely a good sign, at least from what Facebook's saying. I mean, whether they go and figure out another way to hide or figure out a way not to pay as much tax, that's a different story. There are still details that need to be negotiated, kind of who would fall under this kind of protocol. Is it the tech companies? Are there other multinationals that will be affected? So it'll be something to watch when they come out with what are the guidelines, who falls under this protocol. We also, just to touch on and make sure that we're all on the same page, the G7 includes the US, Japan, Germany, Britain, France, Italy, and Canada. So this is kind of the first step that we're seeing in terms of increased taxation. Trillions and trillions of dollars of debt have been printed in order to keep certain small mom and pop businesses, you know, wage subsidies. There's been different programs that have needed our support. This is a once in a lifetime event. This is where I do believe that we do need to come together as a team. And I think Facebook's like right in line with that in terms of, yeah, we're willing to do what it takes to chip in. I think that's putting a little bit of a positive spin on a company that maybe doesn't have the best rep. But yeah, in terms of where these companies go, will it affect the bottom line? That is something that Trump and other, right wing or maybe more economists think, that if you take away from corporate profits or money that they may use towards research and development, they might not grow as fast. They might not create as many new jobs. I think that's a huge benefactor, but let's not forget the rates at which these big companies grew over the past 13 to 15 months. Amazon, record revenue numbers, profit, stock price, Facebook, Microsoft. These companies are all benefiting greatly from, everybody being trapped inside and getting more acquainted with the digital world. Obviously the older generations and taking away an opportunity for maybe some other businesses. Yes, I do believe in natural competition and adapt or die. But in a world that, was hit by this one-off event, I do believe that there's some teamwork that we all need to get through it. And then after this, it's kind of, take that government intervention off and see who survives and who doesn't. But I definitely will be watching how this news affects these companies, the FANG names, moving into Monday or this week. And if there is some weakness, I will definitely be moving in, because at the end of the day, I don't think these higher tax numbers will affect the growth rate of the company. And we know with the market at play today, it's all about that momentum and growth. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know down below what you think of this new tax. Is it going to continue? Is there new stuff going out? Do you think that this will affect these companies' ability to grow? But yeah, throw it down below. I think full steam ahead, but I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're still with me, don't forget, hit that like button. and consider hitting that subscribe button. I hope you all have a great week on the markets. Happy trading.